Yeah,
there's much to made in that.
The LWE therapy. Yeah.
Oh. That's all.
What you like doing there?
That's difficult for change.
Right, welcome back. We, on the one hand, have a load of stuff to get through this afternoon. On the other hand, we don't actually have a right lot else to tell you. Which sounds like a contradiction, but so is all of this weekend. What I mean by that is techniques-wise, there's very little else to tell you. Although I am going to tell you a few others just in certain contexts that hopefully makes it clearer how it's about variation, common sense, adaptability and what have you. But so that this is, if you like, ethical and complete, I'm afraid, I hate to say it, but towards the end of the day, I'm going to try and leave something else for the end of the day, but just before the end of the day, so after the last break, the last half hour, after the last break, half an hour is going to be probably normally boring. Fortunately, it's probably more important than anything else this weekend, in so much as making sure that you are legal, lawful, insured, where relevant, licensed, and doing things in a manner where your clients are safe. It's sort of quite important if you want to sustain a business out of this, and if you want to actually be able to sleep at night yourself. So, anyway, getting back to techniques. Yeah, we covered all manner of shit before. I've lost track of how many so-called different disciplines, or as they call it, we've covered. I know we've covered transactional analysis, cognitive behavioural therapy, suggestion therapy, being given direct suggestions, hypnotherapy, NLP, arguably client-centred counselling, psychoanalysis, general counselling, talking therapies in general. If you want to prove me wrong, please go and shed loads of money on doing loads of different courses. By all means do. I'll laugh my fucking cock off when I get emails. I will. I'll laugh my fucking cock off. But if you want to do that, yeah, I always find it quite amusing when I get the emails. I wish I'd listened.
Send it myself.
No. Hi, Jim, I was fixed it for you. Actually, it's quite good you just said that. It sets me off on something. Jim, I've fixed it for you. If anyone ever remembers watching that, or you look on the internet if you're in a different country, Jim, I've fixed it for you. It's like, you write in your letter, it's like, I want to do X, Y, Z, and if you're lucky, or if it fits their budget or idea of what the show's going to pay, Jim will pick your letter, and he'll get you on there, and think back to this, it'd be sat in a big space-age type chair. They sell them now for blokes in like these gadget shops, huge big things, but this one, and the arm will open and he's got gizmo, big cigar, really PC, it lights up. Now then, little Johnny, what, it didn't sound quite like that, but it's good in my head. Now then, little Johnny, what is it that Jim cannot fix for you? And then the letter will come up on screen and the voiceover of the kid, you know, stringing it together. I would like to, God knows, I want to eat jelly and blancmange on a roller coaster whilst it's going round. So sure enough, they'd have fixed it, they could go on a roller coaster somewhere, jelly and blancmange, right mess, pay for the clean up, blah 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 blah. You'd see the video footage, they'd cut back to the studio, and Jim would go, oh well then, well, did you enjoy that? And they're like, oh yeah. Right, well, I can't think of anyone better than the person who pressed the button on the roller coaster to give you your Jim I've fixed it for you badge. And this apparent authority figure in that context comes and gives them the Medal of Honour, their badge, the Jim will fix it badge. And you always tell the kid's face like, whoa! They look like feeling good. You know what? If you look at things like that, the kid wanted something. I know all kids want things, we're all humans, but that could be just as truly a life-changing experience as any of these so-called approaches or strategy, because of the way it made that child feel special, loved, wanted, needed, all the stuff we've covered. So I'm not going to mention all the words again. You just set me off a moment, actually. But you know, stuff like that actually in itself is, and I think, you know, reality television worldwide is massive at the minute. And I don't think you know, people go, it's because they want to be famous, and you've got this 15 minutes of fame now. Yeah. The majority of them, and I think this applies to the majority of performers anyway, want to feel all those words.
Yeah, loved, appreciated.
Yeah, all them words that you now know, so I don't need to say. And set myself off. Because let's be totally honest about it. Anyone who's a performer is either incredibly confident, egotistical and arrogant, or is in that context but essentially is insecure and has a lack of one of those other words, self-confidence, self-esteem, whatever. Or a combination thereof too. And pretty much any performer that does, yeah, you hear of people getting addicted to drugs or whatever, that can be dealt with. But the symptom substitution will pop up somewhere else. Or somewhere else. And anyone who's actually ever, shall we say, managed to get it to be substituted somewhere, or it has manifested itself in something positive for them, generally speaking, if you do your research, ends up quitting performing. Because they don't need, save myself off, those things anymore. And if you're totally truthful, any therapist who says, I'm going out there to help people, well, you might want to kid yourself that. You may actually, on some level, believe that. But you're going to fall into one or two categories. Either A, and these are the minority, either A, it's pure and simple, you come to the table and this is a great way of making money. And there are some people in the industry that are just bloody good at business and marketing, and they've come to it as self-help industry is a massive money maker. But pretty much the majority have got their own issues, or have had. Although, you know, again, this is going to sound totally contradictory, but like anything I've said this weekend, it is only my opinion and experience that I'm sharing with you. The fact that lots of other people in different fields seem to have had similar experiences, what's that, coincidence or evidence, proof that it's right? I'll let you decide. But the majority of people who want to do, or do therapy, well, let's go beyond that. Show me a human being who says there is nothing that bothers them, worries them or concerns them on any level. Show me a human being who says there isn't something in life they're scared of, even if it's only death itself. And you've either got someone who's a fucking liar, or is perhaps got part of the brain fucking missing, so that they are what may be classed as a psychopath. The vast majority of people, the bottom line it comes down to is that which is occurring in their life such that it is for the vast majority, pleasurable. And are the things that don't fit into that category of pleasurable, that could be in the pain section, what is it that makes them manifest? See, people, I've had people email me in the past and go, and don't worry, if you listen to what I'm saying, I hope that actually the points that are built into this will make sense. A lot of people email me and go, yeah, I'm scared of sharks. I want to say, right, I've got phobia of sharks. Fine, no. In some contexts, that might not be a laughing matter. Shame on you. You're supposed to be therapists.
I'm getting to the fact that I think we'd all be pretty shit.
It's quite
scared.
healthy
Yeah.
fear, really.
But,
Yeah.
yeah,
Brilliant.
I think we would all be, right? If in the context of it face to face. But I'm not scared of going to see the shark in, like, Underworld or whatever the hell it's called. Sea life. Sea life. Yeah, that's the bra factory accommodation. I'm not scared of going to see the shark there. I wouldn't like to be in the water next to it, like, a bit different context. But some people are scared of sharks. Oh, I wouldn't like, I don't like watching them on the telly. I don't like, seeing them in books. I don't like seeing pictures of them. Where do you live? Kent. And to be honest, and this is probably slightly unethical, but will be perceived to as such, because you're supposed to always be nice to clients. But I'd just email back and go, hang on. Exactly how often do you see sharks in Kent? And then it'll come back with the obligatory, yeah, well, they're on the teller. And if I can be asked, I'll reply and go, change the fucking... yeah, but Mark Watson wants a picture. Turn your fucking head, walk away. And as flippant as what I'm saying is sounding, perhaps, it is true, I'm sorry, but it is. There are some things that you've just got to fucking take responsibility for yourself in life.
Isn't that response more ethical than turning around going, well, give us your money and I'll cure you of a phobia that's never actually going to affect you?
I think so. But your arty-farty, winky-wanky, conventional therapy training side of people would say that I am unethical for reacting in that manner. It is all about, is there something you can do your fucking self to just, buy a copy of fucking TV Times, check if there's going to be any shark programming on, and if there is, set the telly to go on all the fucking channels at that time. Again, I know it may sound like I'm being flippant, but I hope you're getting the message, and it's very... that should make sense, hopefully, in connection to everything we spoke about this week. Sometimes people are just fucking idiots. And yeah, I'm pointing the finger at everyone in the room, including myself. We are all guilty at some point in our life, in some context, in some manner, at some time, of getting too tied up on something that, frankly, my point of view, it's totally fucking offended me. And at minute 23 this happened, minute 27, change the fucking channel! You knew at minute 1.5 it was offending you. But, and I will be honest with you, at the moment I'm not just telling a random story and going off on one as much as it may appear. Or it's supposed to appear, as the way I am. But now I'm telling you, but it doesn't matter, it should still work at the unconscious level, despite the fact that I'm now about to tell you that what I am doing, and you may be aware, is anchoring things in certain fashions, spatially we talked about. And hopefully, on an unconscious level, if you believe that winky-wanky stuff, but on some level, endeavouring to help you fit in pieces of the jigsaw of this weekend in the context of everyday fucking life. Normality. There are certain things that, frankly, yes, you could take the money off them. Yes, you could do the phasphobia cure, so that they can look at a picture of a shark and not be bothered, or concerned, or worried. So they no longer sweat when they see one or go, "Woo, get me where." Yes, you could. And if you choose to, fine. They'll pay you for it, and if that's what they want, and at the end of it, they look at the picture, you can take them to Sea Life Centre and they can touch the glass and there's a shark behind it. Alright, fair exchange is no robbery. You provided them with what they wanted. However, for fuck's sake, everyone needs something that can be an issue in their life. And I'd sooner that it was having to avoid seeing a shark on the telly or in a magazine and not going places where there might be sharks in the water. Probably not going to happen at Kent swimming baths. You know? Than it being something that was more likely to happen, such as being shit scared, being around people, which is far more likely to happen more often in your life. If that person lived in Australia, let's say, and where they lived was nearby where in shark sighting, you could sort of understand a bit more how it could be more relevant to them. Although I would still be half inclined to respond to them and say, fucking move. And conventional therapy approaches will tell you that, oh, by the way, I suppose you could technically say that what I'm talking about now is provocative therapy. It's not, because I'm just talking about life in general, but the idea of telling your clients things that are probably going to piss them off and rattle the cage a bit. And I've, Nick, a guy called, I believe, yeah, Nick Kemp in England teaches this. Provocative therapy, well, the word, look at the dictionary definition, it's to provoke a reaction. There you go, you get the idea, I've just been doing that. And it still ties in with everything else that we've said over the weekend. Because when you set a process or a thought pattern running in someone's mind, in such a manner that it takes root, so the mind attaches to the idea, doesn't matter whether it's positive or negative, when it's done in such a manner it has impact, an emotional boom, or what the hell's that about? So that it gets thought about more and becomes almost one of those loop suggestions that keeps running. The person, the more they try not to think about it, the more they will, what resist persists. And that is where, going back to what we said about formative years, that's where outside influences our environment. Someone said something, let's say, in total innocence, even. But the way you perceived it at that age, as a child, it was interpreted differently, perceived differently. So you grow up. That part of you, it's the other page, is still overruling the other parts of you and making you react in that fashion, even though, as the observer, adult, whichever way you want to look at it, you can go, yeah, I know it's that. You still can't, at that moment in time, necessarily overrule the pain, pleasure, wiring diagram as it currently is. Wiring diagram, that's right, that reminds me. So yeah, we now essentially covered on some level Timothy Leary's neural wiring diagrams, philosophy of how the brain's wired up and you make neural connections positively or negatively, and now if you break one, overrule it. That sounds pretty much like what we did yesterday. Yeah. So sometimes it is people, sadly, sometimes just need a kick up the arse. And things are not always what they appear. So let's get it out of the way, because I have been avoiding it. Inner child therapy. We already covered where this may be appropriate, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Email me, I'll send you a copy of the audio recordings if you want to refer back and or look at the stuff on the dish you take away. What do you do? I haven't even got a prop with me. Well, just let me look out the door. Sort of thing. Right. Yeah. Just the sort of thing that I thought might be lying around, some sort of scattery cushion or pillow or something. But it's sort of a prop metaphor again. You get either a big bloody like scatter cushion or maybe a pillow or whatever. And you take your client, and we will be shortly covering obviously the client questionnaire at the start bit of the session, but when it comes to doing the intervention, you use an induction method, perhaps, if you so choose. I would suggest that will make the person more relaxed, responsive, open, heightened emotions, make it easier to get the abreaction state, which we really do have to cover legally, ethically, and on all other levels. And you will have already asked them certain questions, which obviously is your questionnaire. You'll know by the nature of it, from what we said before, that it's probably something, you know, they've already identified there's something when they were younger. So we use that bullying example of earlier. The fact that at the time, all they wanted was, all they needed was somebody just to tell them it was alright, really, but more than alright, to fill those words, love, wanted, needed, and all that. And that part of that person, the child section, still stuck there. Was. So you need to be able to take them back. So you could arguably say that inner child therapy is almost classed under regression therapy as well, albeit it's not in the past life, so it's not past life regression. It's regression as in the word meaning going back. You get them relaxed, you do your deepenings. I suggest just taking the start section of CMT, i.e. muscular relaxation, relax, all that crap with the knots untying, staircase down, comfy bed, and then the Almond deepener stroke induction all on CMT. It's write the name of your problem and wipe it away one letter at a time. As a deepener, you just get them to, for example, write their name on the blackboard and wipe it away backwards. So there's more confusion and thinking and fixation and attention. Wipe it away one letter at a time. So that they're in that responsive, easily triggered off state. And using what information you already have as the answers to your questionnaire and pre-talk, in the section where you're getting rapport and getting to know them, what they've told you about in terms of where it all started, and I'm sure it's all about that. So you already know, based on what we said before, that there was a lack of these things at that time. And the chances are that the inner child is still pissed off, angry, resentful, upset, one or more thereof them, about it. So the human mind is such that imagination becomes reality. Certainly, arguably, it does in hypnosis, but you know, with enough repetition, something that is imagined with enough emotional intensity becomes reality, even if it's against all logic, which would make sense now based on everything we've said. So it's clearly one or more emotionally charged incidents that lock the inner child there. So we're going to need to do the opposite of that to bring it to where, you know, it's not an issue. And a very effective way of doing that is, once they're relaxed, use phraseology such as, in a few moments' time, as you keep your eyes tightly closed at all times, unless I say otherwise, I'm going to hand you something that is calm, safe and secure. I would use it. Calm, safe and secure. It won't bother you, worry you or concern you. It's just a sign and a signal It's just a sign and a signal to allow your mind to wander free. And when I do hand you this item, I'm just making this word up because essentially it's just along these lines. When I do hand you the item, I will end up counting from 1 to 3. And when I do and click my fingers like this, that very moment, that very second, that very instant that I click my fingers like this, I'd like you to imagine in your mind's eye, almost as if you're watching it on a cinema screen, so you can get a sense of the feeling without having to relive it as you once did in the past. That takes away some of the emotional intensity. However, I can pretty much guarantee you using this pretty much 99% of the time, I'd say you are going to end up with a fucking cracking ab reaction. If you need to, at that point, you could say, if you feel it's appropriate, you could leave it to them to decide what that moment is, or be more specific based on what they've said. So, you know, at that very moment, that very second, it'll be almost as though you're watching it, you know, as a spectator watching a film of the past, watching yourself at the age of 6, 7, whatever it is they said. One, then your hand on the cushion, you tell them you're going to do it, the pillow, give it. And you count your 1, 2, 3, click your fingers so they know what to do, when to do it. You might verbally say, and just take a nice, calm, safe, secure hold of the pillow. And that's the last time you can say pillow. And you tell them to look at the, you know, the movie playing as though they're watching it in the past. Remember, when people are hypnotised or got their eyes closed, they can still talk to you and answer questions. Sometimes they don't realise they can or they're allowed to, so you may need to say, in a few months' time, I'm going to ask you a question or two. And when I do, it won't bother you, worry or concern you. You keep your eyes tightly closed, you remain in this lovely relaxed state, but you will be able to answer. And you let them run it through the mind, and you ultimately end up saying to them, you know, as you watch that film, in your mind's eye of that which happened in the past, you can find that you can get a sense and a feeling right now of exactly what needs to be said and done to help the young, so say your client's called Alex, to help the young Alex be able to grow up in the correct manner for him, so that nothing will bother him, worry him or concern him, as it has done for you up to this moment. Which again, remember, up to this moment, implying that this is goodbye time to the ship. And they will say something, maybe very descriptive, in which case you will use what they say back to them in a minute. May not be. You may need to say, well, do you feel that the young Alex that you see needs someone that loves for them, cares them, wants them, needs them, appreciates them, cherishes them, to go up and give them a hug? Tell them it's alright to be there for them. And pretty much, in Ron's context, 99% of the time, they're going to say, yeah. So you're probably ahead of me now. But you say, well, you know what? This time on the count of 3, when I click my fingers like this, the very moment I click my fingers like that, I want you to realise that you've got, it's almost as if, you've got the young Alex, well, whatever the client name is, otherwise it could be confusing. You've got the young Alex on your knee, and you're going to be able to tell them exactly what they need to hear. You're going to be able to give them that big hug. And you're going to be able to do whatever needs to be done, what needed to be done then. You'll be able to do that now and get everything right, in a way that feels right for you. And to be honest, to ramp it up slightly, I probably would say, and you may find that when I click my fingers and you do this, that it becomes a very emotional experience for both you, the adult, in the here and now, and for the young Alex of the past. As you allow the young Alex of the past to put right everything that needs to be put right, by saying the right things, by doing the right things, on the count of 3. By giving them that hug, kiss, pat on the back, saying whatever is right for you. And you may find it's quite emotional for you to know that the young Alex can move forward and become the positive part of you that you were both desired for so long. 1, 2, 3, telling them what to do, when to do it. You're very surprised at this moment. It might take a few minutes for some people. You might occasionally have to in the background go, you know, it's alright. You can just take a few moments, say what you need to say, do what you... It's going to be highly rare that they're just going to be sat there and not moving or saying anything. They could be doing it all inside their head, that's fine. If you think that's going on because there's no physical movement, just as you continue doing that needs to be done, just wiggle the fingers of your right or left hand or move your foot or whatever as a sign and a signal that you are doing what needs to be done right now. So you get a visual clue they're actually doing something. More often than not, it'll be obvious to a blind man they're doing something. And more often than not, that will involve, thank God the pillow isn't a bloody child, because they'd probably have just stopped breathing with the amount of... And you can pretty much guarantee you'll get what gets termed as an abreaction. Or we use the term emotional release. Whereby they will probably start crying uncontrollably. Different for everyone. And when they do, and if they don't, either way, because everyone reacts different, majority of the time you just have reassuring words for you. That's fine. In this context, for inner child therapy only, our reactions in a different scenario we're going to handle differently. But where we're, for want of a better phrase, purposely setting out to make it happen, it sounds a bit callous, but with certain things this is the best way. It was instilled with emotion, it needs emotion to let it go. You know, you might just throw in phrases in the background, that's fantastic, just take all the time you need. That's perfect. That's been all positively assuring. But obviously in that sort of voice tone that's perfect! No, that's sort of making it a bit flippant. And I would suggest that just a couple of 3 minutes is more than long enough to let them be highly emotional. Before you sort of butt in and go, okay, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. On the count of 3, when I click my fingers like this, or bang the desk or whatever, the very moment I do that, your unconscious mind knows that it's the time to say goodbye to the past completely. You can get a bit more upbeat. And give that final hug, that final kiss, that final pat on the back, of those final words of encouragement, strength, stability, confidence. You can add all manner of words, like we said yesterday. For the final time. In a way that feels right for you. So that you know it's 100% total reality. That young Alex has moved forward. Enabling you both to live exactly the kind of life. And now you're into update. 1, 2, 3, boom. And then you're pretty much into awake, not what I would call the awakening bit, the 1 to 10, you're wide awake, all that stuff. They will still feel somewhat slightly emotionally charged when they come round, clearly. And it is possible that when you go, 1, 2, 3 and say goodbye, that they may just open their eyes and go, and start going and crying a bit more. They may bring themselves out of the so-called trance. That's fine, they do. Don't panic. Seem relaxed, like that's normally what happens, but it can happen quite often. In that case, you'll just let them release the negative energy that was there holding them, let that out for a bit, and then you'd use a pattern interrupt, and just randomly with the rod going, maybe reach forward and just tap them on the shoulder. They don't expect, and suddenly go, that's better. You know how much better you look. It's the last thing they'd expect you to say when they're clearly crying or emotional. You know what? You know how much better you look. I just get a sense and a feeling. It's like something huge has been lifted off your shoulders. How good it does feel for you. That's classed as a sleight of mouth, it gets called in NLP. Consciously be perceived as how good does it feel for you, but you've actually said how good it does feel for you. And especially if you were using the calibration technique that we covered yesterday, 0 to 10, you can severely now anchor the fact that there's been a massive feeling much better about it. Try and think about that. It works. In the right scenario. It's probably not appropriate for smoking cessation. Hopefully by now, though, you've all realised that the element of common sense here. To be honest, this course was never intended to teach you how to deal with what I would call the high-end problems on any level. The way it was advertised and the intention was that you'd be able to walk away, stop people smoking, lose weight, gain confidence, stress management, phobias, the stock in trade of the majority of therapies. And you already can. With the techniques I've shown you, we're going to obviously do some more. But, God knows why, but these are the ways of dealing with what I would call the higher end issues and problems. And to be honest, because with everything else we've said, you should be able to piece it all together. I'm thankfully going to move away from inner child work now because I do believe that we've covered that. Yes, indeed. Right. Okay. Next. any logical good reason other than I've moved the chair, so therefore, psychologically, it's a sign and a signal on some fucking level, if you believe that, to feel different. So, yeah, life coaching. I won't just cover that because it's the last sort of winky-wanky title, if you like. Life coaching. Great marketing ploy. Sounds good. Sad truth is, the majority of life coaches out there are either A, unemployed trying to find work, B, not earning enough money, C, are good at marketing but they're crap at what they do, or D, in the minority. And that pretty much sums up life coaching. As to
Moving on.
no. What is it? Right, well, life coaching, in a nutshell, is right, how can I put it? In a nutshell, it's the concept of making a human being dependent upon you so that they speak to you, whether it be by telephone or face to face or over the internet on a video conference thing. Generally speaking, although sometimes it can be more often or slightly less often, but generally speaking, at least once a week. Whereby during that call, the life coach asks the person what's been going on in their life the past week. And comes back with responses like, oh, interesting. How did that make you feel? Do you feel you could have handled that differently? If that was to happen again, what would you do next time? But the ethos of life coaching, pretty much the majority of the people who put stuff out there, is that you never tell the client what to do. They've got to come up with their own answers. Fuck me, that sounds like counselling, talking therapies. Rebranded for the modern day. And the reason for that is because that's what it is. However, no, sorry, obviously I'm lying. Some books will tell you, no, the reason why it's different is because you set the people homework and exercises. So they might have said they've had an issue with, I don't know, doesn't matter what it is, they're trying to set up a business and they've got an issue with getting enough clients. That was, say, corporate coaching. Oh, by the way, corporate coaching means it's got some connection with their business. Life coaching means it's a connection with their life. It's essentially the same fucking things. It's in a different context, okay? But they are different courses at highly inflated prices, I must tell you. Where you'll basically get told what I've told you in the past 2 days, but dragged out over a number of weeks. If you don't believe me, go and spend the money.
And there's handsome. I mean, Action Coach charged £57,000 for a licence to do that.
Franchising, in fact.
Yeah, they will. And I don't think you'd be a way of actually borrowing.
You've got a spare, if you've got a spare 57 grand, right?
Give it to him.
Give it to me. I'll keep a nominal 20% and tell you where to spend the remainder on it on advertising, marketing and promotion such that used effectively you should be a millionaire within 3 to 5 years. Spend the fucking money. No. Bizarre. But what they do is set them exercises. So you go, and what they'll do is all this kind of shit you see, like, if you're setting up a business, you have stuff like SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and that'd be corporate coaching. You identify those things, do your market research. If it was life coaching, it might be relevant to, well, what personality-wise, your friends around you. You know the thing we said yesterday about the list of 3 and the comparisons? That's a life coaching exercise. How can I sum up the majority of a life coaching course? Pretty much everything you've already learned. The main ethos being that you don't really tell the client anything. That you keep them dependent on you for life, for coaching. The clues in the name. That you don't deal with helping them cure with phobias and stuff. That's a different thing. Although you might, you know, if you've got that skill set, you may then say, well, you could think about, if that's holding you back in life, perhaps seeing a therapist. But then ethically, you're not supposed to say it has to be you. Right? And it's letting them waffle on, offload their shit, asking them open-ended questions so they come out with more stuff, asking them questions so they come up with their own answers, and stating the fucking obvious. That's life coaching. And the people who make money from it are the ones who market themselves well. Because ultimately there is a want, need, craving, desire for those things we spoke about, and people get those needs fulfilled by having someone apparently there who provides them. Some good people. Focus on it. That's it. Right, the homework exercises tend to be, they might be emailed to them or given to them as printed sheets, but it's all this kind of shit. If you go online and, you know, get home, I don't know what the book's called, it's probably on the disc. You might, if you just go on Amazon and put in, like, you know, type in for things like blank templates of self-improvement exercises, some sort of phraseology like that. They'll come up with these things where it's like diagrams. Fill the circle of fucking life. That is the right. The final. This is the only last thing I'm going to say on life coaching, but this sort of gives you an idea what I mean about there being what do you call it? Exercises to get set and stuff. Circle of life. The idea being that what you've got is is here the exterior of this apparent fucking circle. Oh, there's no circle there. In fact, no, I'm trying to think of a better way of describing this. Right, this will do. Start off with a blank piece of paper with a dot. And it may have one, it doesn't matter how many, but it may have a few lines coming up like that. Okay? In fact, it probably will. There's various different ways of doing it, but let's go with the most common one. So. And it is just like a sheet of paper with it. So you could turn it into corporate coaching, this, personal coaching, a bit of common sense. Because what you're going to do, relevant to whatever it is for that person, is get them to give these labels. So this could be confidence. This could be determination. This could be ambition. They all get given a label. They could have some relevance to different areas of life. And the person's told that the middle of this is 0. And what they need to do is imagine that the end of the line is 100%.
Isn't this sometimes called the wheel of life?
The wheel of life, yeah. It's different names and same shit, different packaging. Yeah. And in those particular areas that you get them, they've got to examine honestly, think about it, examine themselves. So you're setting them homework, they're doing the work, setting the process. Out of 100, 100 being the top 100%, which would be perfect, what are their levels of confidence, perhaps in this area of their life? And they might go, I think it might be about here, 70% or something. And what's your level of determination? And we go, well, yeah, I'm pretty determined. In fact, no, we'll even go 100% there. Ambition, pretty good, you know, and they might go, God knows, around here. This could be, God knows, how they feel about themselves, and that might be really low. And so it goes on, and there's different lines at different areas. And then you take a keyboard pen when they bring the homework back next time, or email it, or whatever. And you go, look, if we join up all those lines and things in your life, and it sort of like ends up sort of with. You go, imagine if that was a wheel. You wouldn't get very far, would you? So here's a visual metaphor to wake up the idea, and you know, you wouldn't get very far. So What do you feel you need to do? The loose answer. Well, we need to work on over here, don't we? Because if that was more out here, that was more out there, it'd be getting closer to being a will. This is the kind of shit that is life coaching. Yeah. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say on that because, you add in what we've already covered, and that is, they've obviously another few grand.
A lot more useful as well. Changing your friends, getting the right people.
Yeah,
Maybe
exactly.
it's not
Your environment, yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff I would do if I crack using clients anyway.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. You've just been told it under a different name and using it in a different context.
Doing it anyway.
And truth be told, a lot of people whose lives aren't where they want it to be, because this is something I'm looking into at the minute, is doing a lot of life coaching stuff. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of people whose lives do need in what I deem fixing. All they actually need, what they really need is a bit of common sense pointing out, because as you say all the time, common sense isn't that common.
Well, you're the authority figure that can get them to see, that point them in the right direction, send them off.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're actually just facilitating for them to do all the work. Anyway.
Yeah.
Any therapist,
that's
it's down to them at the end of the day doing the work.
Yeah.
You just become a kick up the arse, really.
Yeah.
That they won't get.
Maybe in a covert manner, where the perception is that you've hypnotised them, or that you've done X, Y, Z and bamboozled the brain and they felt some magical experience or through ritual and that they come to believe something more positive for them. But ultimately, they wouldn't have been in that position if they hadn't decided to make the commitment to come, to pay the money, X, Y, Z. So ultimately, however you look at it, the root start point is the person has to be ready, want, willing, truly ready for change. And this is the problem that you face. And it gets given the wanky name of cognitive dissonance. You'll see if you're looking various books and stuff. I will just, for the record, confirm those people who look on the internet. I call myself Dr. Jonathan No because I have a degree in psychology. I did buy that degree. Yes, I did. It is, however, legally apostilled. It is legal for use in the manner I use it in all countries that are subscribed to the Hague Convention. And in the manner I use it, it is in no way, shape or form breaking any laws, despite what some people would like to say on the internet, because if you've got a piece of paper that A is legal in the first place, and B, you've got the expertise, knowledge and experience to back up, well, yes, I'm going to sound egotistical for a minute, but I've met numerous psychology degree training, the people who run the fucking courses, let alone people who've got so-called genuine psychology degrees, and I can tie the fuckers up in knots, piece of piss. And 99.9% of them wouldn't have a fucking clue where to start when it came to getting a solution. And yes, I'm being egotistical and arrogant. Well, for a reason. Because I truly believe what I've just said. I know it to be fact. And how do I do what I do? Exactly the way that I've been telling you. It's just sadly that all this, the real so-called this is how it works approach, isn't how it really fucking works. And the people who are out there in the real world doing it soon come to know that it's a lot more case of human manipulative psychology and manipulating people. And it's all these words that have got the stigma of being negative, but if you're using them with positive intent for positive results, then how exactly can that be negative? But oh no, it's wrong to be honest about things and say actually what you're doing is manipulating people to change the viewpoint, the thoughts, the beliefs. Oh, you shouldn't dabble with people's beliefs. Fuck off, that's what's caused the problem in the first place. Right? So, your big issue that you could encounter, but if you've got all of the elements we've talked about this weekend in place, and the consulting room looked right, you're dressed appropriately, and I say appropriately, that's going to be a matter of common sense in itself. If you're apparently advertising yourself as like the clinical, complete mind therapy consultant for XYZ issue, they will probably have in their mind the idea of a doctorish type. So the suit or the maybe more applicable. If you say life coaching in England, they've probably got more of the casual laid-back idea because of what they've seen on TV. Could be different in different countries. Do your research. What is the stereotype? Go with the stereotype. If you've got all of that stuff into place, you shouldn't have too much of a problem, as long as you believe in what you're doing. But here's the issue, cognitive dissonance. And again, I hope I don't get this too way off, because sometimes I just describe things so way off the way other people describe them that it seems to bear no relation. So I am actually going to ask Kim if I'm right about this. But cognitive dissonance, as I explain it, is you may have a problem here, let's say a client with a phobia, okay? And this is your single biggest fucking obstacle you may encounter. It doesn't matter what it is, an OCD, an addiction, a habit or whatever. Who, during the course of your change work, they've come to a point that they, yeah, I'm ready for therapy, I want to get rid of this, I want to move forward, blah, 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 blah. You're doing your change work, so step 2, change work's going on. And during this change work, if it's been done right in the right context and that, at some point, whether unconsciously or consciously, the penny is going to drop in their head that ultimately they've only got the fucking self to blame. Okay? And yes, I am even, and I'm not saying the example we gave earlier of the child being bent over the table and Uncle Bertie banging them. I'm not saying they're to blame for that happening, but they've only got the self to fucking blame for the way they've let it affect them from that moment forward. And for this, for any of this stuff, or any therapeutic intervention, or any alternative or complementary therapeutic approach to work, the client has to have that eureka moment. Whether it's consciously or unconsciously. And unfortunately, sometimes it can be so fucking painful, pain and pleasure again, to have to, consciously or unconsciously, admit to oneself that ultimately it was themselves to blame. Alright, they weren't to blame for being raped. Of course they weren't. And yes, from another angle, we can use approaches to help them come to terms with the emotions and negative, of course. But at some point, whether it's an addiction, habit, whatever, you know, someone might have frigging, against their will, given them drugs to start with. So it's not their fault they started. But however you look at it, they've only the self to fucking blame for where they are now and where they've been for whatever period of time that issue has been an issue. It applies to us all in the room, including me. In fact, it applies to everyone on this fucking planet. Because you have a choice, free choice. And people say, no, I don't because of my environment. No, I don't because I, you know, oh no, you know, I can't leave the wife. I can't, well, that's your own fucking fault then. For things to change, things have to change.
As painful as it may be, it's very empowering to kind of be able to look at, to realise that you have a part in it, to own your part in it, is actually.
Well, that's how you're going to frame it as much as you can.
Yeah.
But the trouble is how painful is this? How regular? Some people, and that's what cognitive dissonance relates to, is well then. Even though, fundamentally speaking, all the elements could be in place, the consulting room, looking at part, the authority figure, everything that we spoke about over the weekend, and everything you'll see on the DVDs and my book, backup materials and what have you. You know, that's all in place, and there's no reason why it shouldn't work, and it's worked for loads and loads and loads of other people. This person, despite the fact that over here could be the pleasure of the life they want, unless you can really ramp up that idea of that pleasure being so fucking good that it overrules the idea of having to admit to themselves they've had themselves to fucking blame, whether that's consciously or unconsciously, some people will choose And generally it'll be unconsciously because they'll repress this idea in their head back, so they don't have to admit to themselves that the reason the treatment didn't work was because they didn't want to admit to themselves that they had themselves to blame. Or go, no, it's too painful to come to terms with that, so I'll stay where I fucking well am. And that ultimately is what cognitive dissonance is, and what the majority of people who've had problems for years and years and years and years can do. If they've sought out other therapeutic interventions, that is. Obviously they may just not have got to the point in their life where they decided to go and seek out a therapeutic intervention. That's a different ballgame altogether. But if they have, and it's not worked, unless fundamentally it was some complete utter mumbo jumbo that they went to, like, God knows, let's make it up, fucking, like we said before, celery in your ears, pot pie up your nose therapy. But even then, if all those things we spoke about this weekend were in place and the person was ready, change should have taken place, positively. And if it hasn't, it's because the person isn't prepared to go through that pain. There's a pain attached to having that problem and the idea of letting go of it, but the pain of realising you're to blame, and the individual has been to blame, not for what triggered it, set it off, but for carrying on in that manner after, is painful. Nobody likes to admit they're wrong, they fucked up, they could have done things differently. Nobody does, because that's the direct opposite of all the human needs, wants, emotions and everything we talked about this weekend. But that is your biggest potential stumbling block. More so on high-end problems.
Is that a belief, though? Is that a belief? Did you work on the belief with them, or not? It's just... No.
They just won't admit it to you. In this context, you can pretty much, and I'm generalising, you can pretty much guarantee they'll just go, this isn't working for me, and they'll try putting the blame onto somebody else, like they have been doing for fucking years.
Yeah. That's why it's like if a client turns up out the blue saying, I want treatment, you know, my line, you know, you get them to demonstrate motivation, because for me the worst thing you can do is set them up to fail by saying, oh yeah, blah, 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 get it all in place, sling them into treatment, and because they're not ready, they're not there, they come out of treatment early and they go, it doesn't work, and they may spend years, they might die, because they won't go back into treatment, because in their mind now it's fixed that it doesn't work, because they won't take responsibility for the fact that, for whatever reason they're just not ready to move on.
It is, sadly, that simple. That pretty much time with your understanding of cognitive dissonance. Yeah, I just do tend to be a bit more brilliant than that, but it is that. And sometimes, occasionally, you are going to encounter this, and if you do, just spec all you can do, simple as. There you go. Don't want to carry on paying your money to come and see you. Then, you know, if you're being ethical about it, you should just say, look, it should work by now. Fact of the matter is, it will work when you're ready. And they'll probably get angry and start going, no, it's your fucking fault. Whatever. There'll be water off a duck's back. Because, more so with iron, this is not too likely to happen with lower end things we've talked about. Mid-range, it can happen depending on the nature of the thing. I.e. the severity of what that issue has perceptively caused them. And having to admit this. However, this will happen less, certainly when they're coming and paying you money, than it will if you work in a voluntary sector. Because, obviously, there's more of a commitment immediately. And it will happen far less when the person has made some commitment and entered into these things. So particularly for your benefit, in one particular context, as we spoke about the other night, having sought out, discovered, seen said course, is already along the path of what we've been talking about. Having encouraged you to come on it, is along that path. Having started talking in terms of when you've done this, and when we've gone through the stuff and we're then able to do X, Y, Z, which is the total opposite of the phraseology that was being used before, is another step along that. The stuff you were talking about, you put it in a lots of those processes have already been starting before you came in. I'm just making a point of saying that, not to pick you out. Yeah, I'm not doing that to pick you out. It's just because I know in your head there will be that element of, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
It is making sense. However, this is going to be a tough fucking cookie to crack. However, things have already started going in that direction. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today. She wouldn't have encouraged you to be here.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and the reason
it's just the last bit in place that, yeah, actually doing it on her, you know, that's the initial part.
The reason I am emphasising that is that because when we get to the phobia cure, it's going to seem too ridiculously easy. It truly will seem too ridiculously easy. But it is that easy if the time, the situation, and all of those elements are in place. And they've already started falling into place.
So if you've got clients coming to you, that stuff really, that's really...
Should already...
It's not going to be happening really, is it, to
No.
be honest?
Especially if they're paying.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, albeit from a roundabout manner, the financial commitment's already been made. And encouraging you, that's an emotional commitment in terms of the fact that we're in a...
Investment, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I think, sorry,
You're alright, sir.
I still tell people who come to me that it's not good paying me the money and sitting there and expecting me to change you.
Mm.
You've got to work with me.
Yeah.
No.
I always say, well, hypnotherapy or staging, either way, I always say, it's cooperation, not confrontation. Oh, we might get a bit of confrontation if you start doing provocative therapy, obviously, given the nature of the beast. And I just wanted to say that because it might ring bells with other people as well in different contexts, that it's already, lots of the things are out. Alright, you're not going to suddenly have a consulting room in this context with the books on the shelf, but there's no need to because it's a different environment. But obviously then, from the other point of view, those people who have clients coming, you've got those things in place through another angle, if you like. So that all makes sense. I really do, truly think that other than after the brief break, the way we're going to do this stuff, the brief break, come back, do about an hour, then have another little mini brief break, so we can then sort of do the Laurie bits and then finish off on questions and answers just to finally gel it together. So in the next section I will be doing the phobia cure with you all, just so you can go through it, even if you haven't got a phobia. And I will warn you now, even if you have got a phobia, you may be cured, if you want to be, and now's the time, as we just explained. Otherwise you won't.
Can you do multiple phobias in one go? Or do you have to
No,
teach each one?
it's not. Anything, one issue at a time.
Yeah, I was telling these I did 27 on the same person in one day. 27 phobia cures.
But you did them each separately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Even if two were related, like magpies
Right.
and pigeons.
Yeah, right. Well, you did them each
Is it
separately.
27 varieties of
Yeah,
colours?
well, you did them each separately. That's cool. That's good. So we're going to do that. Then we'll talk about pain control, noisy therapy. That's another element. The symptom substitution, rewiring it around so that it's a positive thing they substituted for. Bit of past life regression. Photo reading, I can cover that in 2 minutes. And save you a bit
That's the whole book.
And yeah, and then how to make money from it and be legal. So can we just 10 minutes maximum, 5-2 please. Back in here, please. Thanks.
Just talking about EFT. Because I work with people like on trauma, that's my where I sort of specialise.
Just let me pop this off.
Yeah.
And
Squeeze through.
It's just part of
even though
Because I'm running out of tape time.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't